My name is Catherine Smith. I remarried when my husband's son was 16 years old. Yes, my husband was a divorced man with a child. Since I am unable to have children, I was happy to have a son, and for the past 12 years, I have raised him desperately as my own child. That son, Austin, said he was getting married and brought his girlfriend home. I'm thinking of marrying this person. She had an innocent look, and I thought she would make a good wife for Austin. I was moved to tears of joy. However, my son then said, I'm gonna live with my fiancé's family. Being an only child, I had assumed he would live with us after getting married. So, this was quite a shock. Living together? Why not? There's no problem with me living with my fiancé's family, right? That was certainly true. We have a house, but it's just a regular, mass-produced home. There's nothing special to inherit. But you are an only child. She's an only child too. And though our family has nothing to inherit, her family has a distinguished lineage. It makes more sense for me to live with them. Yes, our family has been running a traditional sweet shop for generations. My father is the president of the company. I see. In that case, it's understandable for you to live with them. And Dad, you have this person. Austin said, pointing at me. Hearing this, my son's fiancée didn't get angry or say anything like what a thing to say to your own parents. Instead, she just laughed mockingly. It's okay, this person is just a stepmother. Stepmother? Yes, my father's second wife. Really? A second marriage? That's problematic. Problematic? Yeah. Did you lose his wife? No, we divorced. That's even worse. My parents are very conservative and don't accept divorce. They think that remarriage indicates an immoral person. If they know about it, they might not approve of our marriage. Well, it's the truth. Then, let's just say your wife passed away. Are you kidding? You raised Austin alone after your wife's death. My parents would respect that and would be even more impressed with how well you raised Austin. But what about this person? Remarriage is also frowned upon. My parents believe in only one marriage for life. If they learn about a second marriage, they won't approve of our marriage. Well, then, she doesn't need to come to the family meeting. What? Ah, I see. Well, we have to compromise. After all, her family is well established and prestigious. We can't argue against that. This is so sad. My husband was over the moon knowing that my son Austin's fiancée came from a prestigious family. He suggested that it would be best if I, as his stepmother, didn't attend the wedding. So, I guess you are definitely not attending the wedding. Right. I wouldn't want the engagement called off because of you. I've been looking forward to my son's wedding after raising him for all these years. It can't be helped, it's for the sake of our son. You can just look at the pictures later. How could you? What will we do after the wedding when we see each other? Just say you're our housekeeper. Exactly. It's not like I need you around. Plus, we'll avoid any mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflicts. I wouldn't do such a thing. You never know. Even you. Maybe we should just divorce, you know. Divorce? Yeah. If we're divorced, the lie becomes the truth. We needed you for cleaning and cooking until now, but with May around, we don't need you anymore. Hey, you might live with them, but what about me? I'll be alone in this house. Well, maybe we should really make her the housekeeper. I don't want her acting like a parent. That's true. That's just... How can you say such things? I endured everything for 12 years because I thought of him as my own child. But from my son's perspective, I was just someone to clean and cook. What was the point of my 12 years? Was it all just self-indulgence? So it's settled then. The stepmom won't come to the family meeting. We'll say you raised Austin alone after your wife passed away. That works, right? Yes, of course. Now I can marry May with peace of mind. Yes, I'm relieved too. It's good we found out the truth before the family meeting. Otherwise, the wedding might have been called off because of the stepmother. I definitely don't want a stepmother acting like a mother-in-law. How can people be like this? It can't be helped. If you were really a mother, you'd understand. It's for the happiness of our son. If you can't endure this, you're not fit to be a parent. Is that so? Is that how it is? I felt like everyone was against me. What was I for all these years? 12 years. Enough with the 12 years, 12 years. All right, thanks for the 12 years of service. The fake is no longer needed, so don't come to the family meeting. Of course. If you come and the engagement is broken, I'll resent you for the rest of my life. What? Rejected by everyone, I was left speechless by the shock. On the day of the family meeting, it was a dinner at a fancy restaurant. Told not to participate, I watched the proceedings from a distance. So, your wife passed away early, and you raised your child alone. That must have been tough. As planned, my husband was playing the role of a grieving widower, whose wife had passed away before him. Yes, well, there were various things, but he managed to grow up somehow. Is that so? As the conversation about my husband being a hard-working man continued, a gaudy woman, resembling a bar owner, approached the table. Austin, long time no see. You've grown so big and respectable. She looked quite flashy. As she suddenly appeared, May's family was taken aback, while my husband and son, recognizing her as their ex-wife and real mother, remained silent. Who might you be? I'm this kid's real mother, call me Christy. With that, Christy took a seat and called over a waiter. Hey, add another place here. The waiter brought the food. The food here is really good. Nice choice of restaurant. As expected. What is this all about? I heard today was my son's family meeting. Since a stepmother wouldn't do, I, his real mother, came. Stepmother? What do you mean? My husband and Austin shrank, unable to speak. Christy took over the conversation. No, this must be some mistake. You're at the wrong table. This is extremely rude, please leave at once. What are you trying to act all important for? I won't let you forget your ex-wife. I don't know you. I'm his ex-wife and this child's mother. But just a moment ago. No, don't listen to her. I divorced him when this kid was little. I wanted to take him with me, but his parents were so insistent. They said to leave the child, so I left him, crying. It was tough. Oh, but the divorce wasn't because of a mother-in-law issue, by the way. We were told that his mother had passed away. Yes, my wife passed away. That's right, she's a complete stranger. I don't know you. Please leave, today is an important day. Get up and leave, old lady. Hey, Austin. Calling her an old lady? Sorry, I'm shocked he turned out so rude. Are you really his mother? Of course. Then, about her being dead. It's all pretense. They probably thought it sounded better than admitting to a divorce. How ridiculous. That's the kind of ridiculous thing they would do. By the way, did you cure your gambling addiction? Christy turned to my husband and asked. In fact, he had a severe gambling addiction. I didn't know that until we got married. But since we were married and had a child, it wasn't easy to just leave. I stayed, even though life was hard and most of his earnings went to gambling. I kept going because my son called me Mom. You really had a terrible gambling addiction. Even when we were married, we couldn't eat because of your gambling. I thought we were going to starve to death. Did it get better after marrying your current wife, or is it still going on? Don't talk about that here. When else should I ask? It's not like we'll see each other often. If we were, I'd wait for another time, but that's not happening. Christy continued, addressing May's astonished parents. The reason for our divorce was his gambling addiction. He had a terrible addiction. I married him without knowing. It was like marrying just to struggle. My parents kept telling me to divorce him, but we had a child, so it wasn't that simple. I tried hard, but we couldn't even eat. Eventually, we divorced when the kid was small. Gambling addiction is hereditary, isn't it? Yes, there's a theory that it's hereditary. If there's a gambler in the family, 19% will develop a gambling addiction, compared to 5% otherwise. So, maybe the son will develop it too. Yeah, I've heard that too. It gets worse with debt problems. Debt? Yeah, they gamble even if they have to borrow money. That would be troublesome. So, do you have debts? Oh, but your current wife has been working hard for you, so maybe not. Hey, stop it. Today is the family meeting, you know. So what? Marrying on a lie won't last, just like our marriage. So, did you quit? That is... Ah, I see. Maybe you even married your second wife without telling her the truth. That's almost like fraud. You're really the worst. Cut it out. Have you told this kid about his father's gambling addiction? You should, or your wife might suffer when you start gambling. That is... Don't tell me you think, because her family is rich, they'll cover your gambling debts. I'm worried because your father would think something that awful. I'm not thinking anything like that. Well, good if you're not. The food here is really delicious. Everyone should eat and enjoy. By the way, what happened to your parents? They passed away 13 years ago. Ah, I see. So you remarried 12 years ago. Typical, finding someone to take care of you. You can't manage the house on your own. Without a wife, it would be a total mess. Well, men usually aren't good at tidying up. Why did you even come? I didn't invite you. Maybe it was Christy's blatant behavior, but my husband finally snapped back at her. Then, without any shame, Christy brought up my name. Your second wife, Catherine, told me. What? Catherine did? Yes. Why would you and Catherine? Catherine found me 12 years ago. She said no parent would abandon their child. I was so happy back then. You never sent a single photo, but Catherine contacted me. She sent me photos of Austin growing up and told me all about him. Then she said a stepmother wouldn't do for this family meeting. She was worried Austin would feel awkward, so she asked me to come. But this atmosphere is so tense. Feels like a bunch of liars together. Are you planning to get back with Austin's dad? What? No way. Austin has a wonderful mother. And I'm remarried too. I'm not giving up my current happiness. Marrying him would just mean suffering with his gambling. I even discussed today with my husband. What kind of great mother is she? She's just a stepmother. You guys are underestimating her and you're gonna regret it. Remember, she paid for the total remodel of that old house 10 years ago. Ever wonder where the money came from? I don't know how much you earn, but if she's gone, you're the one who's gonna be in trouble. But I don't care either way. There's no way I'll be in trouble. She doesn't even work. I'm the one paying for everything. If that's what you think, then fine. Sometimes you don't realize what you've lost until it's gone. You probably don't even understand how much she's done for you, desperately trying to fix your gambling addiction. And Austin, you never know when you might develop it. May, you better be prepared. Just because he hasn't yet doesn't mean he won't ever. Mind your own business. I'm different from my dad. I won't develop anything. I wonder why she even married you. She's great at cooking, perfect at housekeeping, a real paragon of a wife and mother. With such a good mother around, why did you keep quiet about being remarried? Lying that your wife had died? Your daughter said it was better that way. What? You went along with it just because she said so? Weren't you and Mom saying that while watching TV? Divorce is bad, remarriage is promiscuous. I don't remember saying that. That was while watching a drama. Oh, that was about the main character in the drama. Right, because we're both remarried. No way! You are the child from my previous marriage with my ex-husband. Seriously? But treating someone who raised you for 12 years as a nuisance, I can't let my daughter marry someone like that. You're right. Catherine is the best. She even cares about someone like me. And yet, they call her a fake mother. He's no good. She's really that wonderful? Of course. Christy then looked at me and gestured for me to come over. I approached the table, and my husband and son were shocked. Why are you here? Weren't you supposed to be at home? I got worried and decided to watch secretly. See? She's wonderful. worrying about someone else's child. With such a wonderful mother. But I think she's going to divorce soon. What? Why? She's been worried about the child for 12 years, devoted to a husband with a gambling addiction, and then called a fake. Of course, she's going to divorce. Right, Catherine?
Yes. I'm not needed anymore. But I still worry about them.
Don't worry. From now on, they can live on their own. They only thought of you as a housekeeper, so you don't need to care. You should live your own life.
Okay.
I don't mind you leaving, but I'm not paying you any alimony. Alimony? Who do you think you are? I never expected you to pay. Besides, now I can support and even help Catherine. What do you mean? Back then, we were dirt poor, but now I'm remarried. And he's rich, the CEO of a major corporation. No way. I'm not lying. Which company? ABC Corporation, ever heard of it? ABC, isn't that a top name in the hotel industry? Yes. My husband is the CEO. So, I can support Catherine no matter what. And I'm the vice president. The vice president of that company, that's a big deal. Maybe. But that's not important. So, Catherine, if you ever need anything, just let me know. But not you guys.
Christy said that to my husband.
Don't even ask for help. Be independent.
Then, Christy pulled out divorce papers.
Strike while the iron is hot, right? Here's the divorce form. Sign it quickly. I'll witness it. You don't want to drag this out. Catherine's too kind.
It's okay. I was planning to leave today anyway.
I signed the divorce form. Now it's your turn. No need to think about it. You wanted to turn her into a housekeeper, after all. Of course. I have no lingering feelings for such a woman.
My husband quickly signed the divorce papers, perhaps out of pride. May's parents were clearly shocked to see him sign without any hesitation. They then announced, "We must decline this marriage proposal." After returning home, I packed my belongings without anyone stopping me and left the house. Christy was waiting outside and drove me to my new residence.
I'm not sure if you'll like it, but I've arranged a new place for you. You can pay the rent when you're able to afford it. After all, it's our property.
Later, my ex-husband and former son contacted me, angrily blaming me for the broken engagement.
It's your fault the engagement was called off. If that marriage had gone through, I would have eventually become a president. I could have had an easy life. You ruined everything. Be quiet!
Christy yelled as their voices came through the phone on speaker.
Do you think you have the right to speak to her like that? She's the reason you could barely get by. Yet, you called her a nuisance, a fake. And now a housekeeper? She asked me to replace her because she was worried about Austin. And you turn it into a complaint? Blaming others has its limits. Well, it's still her fault the engagement was called off. If she hadn't called you, everything would have been fine. You mean you would have kept May's parents deceiving? If you really wanted to marry, it wouldn't have ended. It's because it wasn't genuine that it fell apart. Cool your heads, you idiots.
Christy hung up the phone. I agreed with Christy and wouldn't have been able to say it myself without her. Grateful for her support, I ended the day on a positive note. However, a month later, they contacted me again.
Is Christy there? No, she's not. Well,
there was a relieved tone in my ex-husband's voice.
The full remodel fee hasn't been paid. Is that so? Just pay it then. I'm no longer involved, so please don't contact me about it. Can I afford it with my salary? If you quit gambling, maybe. That's impossible. You know that as well as I do. Yes, but it's no longer my concern. How did you manage before? I supplemented it with my income. In fact, I paid for the remodel and living expenses. How can that be? You weren't working. You just didn't know, but I was working too. What were you doing? I was doing handmade crafts. All your income went to gambling. So, without you, I can't manage? You could if you stopped gambling. I can't stop, as I've told you. So, you have no intention to overcome your gambling addiction? I want to, but it's impossible. I can't go a day without it. Given his repeated insistence that it's impossible and despite claiming he wants to change, it seemed clear he had no real intention to do so. You have to try your best. Anyway, it's no longer my concern. How much debt is left? Well, it will be cleared in about 17 years. 17 years? That's impossible. Please, help me. I don't have that kind of money. Please send me some. I'm a stranger now, and wasn't I just a fake mother to your son? I can't help you. You need to handle it yourself. Please, I'm begging you. I can't even afford food. My ex-husband was pleading, trying to extract money from me. But after that phone call, Christy and I agreed that being firm was the best way to help him. If I coddled him, he would never change. I firmly cut off my ex-husband's pleading and ended the call. 6 months later, I heard that my ex-husband, who somehow managed to maintain his lifestyle, ultimately couldn't stop gambling and had to let go of the house. Austin, seeing his father so consumed by gambling, developed a gambling addiction himself. The two of them got deeply hooked on gambling, frequently visiting casino, ostensibly to increase their living expenses. This only worsened my ex-husband's gambling addiction, and he finally quit his job. Consequently, they couldn't even afford the basic living expenses. Despite living in a cheap apartment, their inability to pay rent due to gambling led them to become homeless, resorting to hotels. Soon, they couldn't even afford the hotel fees and ended up at loan sharks, borrowing money to keep gambling, chasing the dream of a big win. However, as their debts grew out of control, they tried to contact me again. Anticipating this, I had changed my phone number so they couldn't reach me. In desperation, they contacted Christy, but they had no chance of getting any money from her. With the cold season coming, they were found huddled together in a corner of a park, unable to afford even the hotel fees. Meanwhile, I kept working on my passion for handmade crafts. Thanks to my perseverance and Christy's support, I managed to pay my rent, and eventually, I opened my own store. My crafts began to attract more customers, and my store became very successful. Now, every day I create products filled with dreams for my many customers.